Hi, everybody. This is Samantha Dawson. So, today is my first episode of my podcast. I was just listening to another podcast, and I've heard people talk about podcasts for a while, and I've been kind of on the teetering on whether I would start one or not, but I really think I'm interested in it because I don't really like doing videos. I'm an introvert, and I'm a work at home mom. I turn my stove from Noma Langa Mashali Moses of Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Dr. Boyce Watkins channel on YouTube. And I thought that term was brilliant because I actually work a lot more than I did when I worked a 9 to 5. So I barely have time sometimes to do my hair or take a shower. I know it might be TMI, but it's the truth. And it's the life of an entrepreneur and a mom. And a lot of people have these lofty ideas of, when you're an entrepreneur, you just can jet set and live the life and you're making millions. But it takes a long time to get to that level of success, despite what you hear when you hear about the Mark Zuckerbergs or the people who create Snapchat or Bill Gates. They were working really hard on what they were doing before it actually took off. And I don't really understand why they call it an overnight success. Maybe because once it was launched, it just took off. But there was a lot of work that went behind it before it really launched. So with that being said, like I just listened to a podcast with Maura. Her name's Maura, Morra. I really need to get her last name because it's going to be a new podcast that I think I'm going to follow. I read an article, I read a news article on Forbes.com, and I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship, guys. And I really discovered what it really even was like 3 or 4 years ago. Long story behind that. I'll explain that in another podcast episode. But basically, I read her interview questions, and I just thought that I felt like I had so much in common with her. She's also a mom of 3. She's also an entrepreneur, also an introvert, and I really related to her. And so I found out she had a podcast from the article because I kind of clicked from one article to another article. And then I think the second article was the one that she had the interview with someone in the Forbes.com news article or their magazine article. And then I clicked on her podcast because I think it's called like Hiding in the Bathroom. And it really resonated with me because I remember writing a blog post that I thought was weird. And I was discussing like my feelings at working 9 to 5 and hiding in the bathroom and just like some of the like pitfalls of working for that current employer, and in that environment. And so I listened to the podcast and I just thought it was amazing because being an entrepreneur can be kind of lonely at times. I don't think it's something that the majority of people would choose to do, like take that path in life. I think most people are going to go work for a company and be more an employee than an employer or an entrepreneur. So with that being said, like now that I'm just really realizing like this is what I'm going to do with my life, because I actually left corporate America last year. So it's actually not even been a whole year. And I was laid off. And I just was like, you know what? I had just had my youngest son. He is now 1. But at the time he was only 2 months old. And I just decided I'm not going back. I'm going to stay home with my son, and I got to get my butt to work. So I started me being type A, being driven, being the person I've always been for every company I've ever worked for. I turned all that around and put it behind into myself for once. So I immediately was thinking like my wheels were spinning, and I'm just thinking, what do I do to replace that income that I just lost? And my fiance, he's amazing. He's my soulmate, and I mean, I promise you, we're way too much alike. It's scary. But one day he was just like, why don't we start a t-shirt company? Because we've been talking about it like the year before, like late 2015, I would say. We were kind of discussing it, and then when he said it, it was like a light bulb went off, like ching, and I just knew like this is what I'm gonna do, because I've always loved fashion. And so I just took off with that. I learned how to start an e-commerce business. I learned how to build, and then from there I learned how to build websites, and then I didn't know how to design, so then I was paying people. I was hiring designers A lot of them from Fiverr, and then it was costing me too much to do it. So I taught myself how to do graphics design. And of course, I had 15 years background IT experience. So a lot of this stuff was very easy for me to learn. And then I realized it was really enjoyable. I've always been a creative person. And so even when I was working my 9 to 5 in the IT field, my jobs were never really exactly what I felt they never felt creative enough for me. I never felt like I could really be expressive of myself. And so I was in heaven. Like, I was like, I'm building websites and I'm designing t-shirts, and this is like my calling. Like, this is what I was probably meant to do my entire life. Like, I kind of knew deep down that I was always going to mix information technology with fashion at some point in time. Because the only time I didn't become a fashion designer was because I couldn't draw, and I was always worried about. I just thought, like, I can't draw, I can't do it, and I just shut the door on that immediately. And here I am now designing T-shirts and owning Lockstar Revolution, which is like a Black Pride and African Pride uh, store that sells things primarily for, Black people or African American or people of African descent. But there's also products on there for people of all races, like oil, shea butter, things like that are actually very popular now, and people love using a lot of those items. So I started with that, and then because I had picked up some new skills, I just kept going, and I started. And the next thing I know, I'm building websites for other people, for organizations, and it just kind of just kept going. And like I said, it hasn't even been a year yet, guys. And so when I'm listening to the podcast episode, Maura is interviewing a 23-year-old and a 73-year-old, which I thought is incredible. They're both women. And it just goes to show, because I always kind of be wondering, like, I'm 34. Am I too old to be an entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur who is graphics designs and web design? And I'm a woman, and I'm a Black woman at that. So I'm just like, is this normal? Of course it's not. Of course it's not normal. And that's why I'm doing it, because I never do anything that's normal. Just the fact that I was working in the IT field wasn't normal. That is a primarily white male dominated field. So I was always like the only woman, or definitely the only Black woman. Sometimes I was usually the first Black woman or the first woman, period, to hold certain positions. So I've always been doing things that were abnormal. And because I'm so used to that, I don't even know what normal is anymore, because I'm always kind of like in my own little universe, just paving the way and blazing my own trail and creating my own path for others to follow. And it really means a lot to me to be a role model to others. So, and I've always been a leader. I'm a Leo. So my birthday's July 26th. So I'm a Leo. I always knew I could not really work for anyone. I always knew that wasn't meant for me, but I didn't know how to get out of the rat race, like how to get out of that. And now I'm able to. So I'm creating this podcast. I'm about to go, guys, because my food I need to eat it before it gets cold. But I just wanted to talk really quickly about just this topic, because I didn't, I have to say stuff before I forget, unless I take notes, and I'm not in a position right now to take notes. But I'm creating this podcast because I do feel like there needs to be, I guess, more voices like mine that need to be out there and heard, because I have so many people that are telling me all the time, like, you should be a motivational speaker, you should be speaking, you should be doing videos, you should be doing this. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So it's like, okay, this is something I need to do. And now that I'm an entrepreneur, I have to promote myself. I have to start to create my brand. I have to start to put myself out there more. No matter how introverted I am, I have to do it. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm just so excited that technology, I love technology, as you guys will find. As we continue through the podcast, you'll learn more about me. And I am just excited that technology is allowing me to be who I truly am. I don't know if I would have had these opportunities if it wasn't for information technology. So I'm just so excited. So until I speak to you guys again, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and end this first episode. This is my very first episode, and I'm going to go ahead and end it so I can eat. But I will be making more podcasts. I actually have so many recordings. It's not even funny. I just don't know what to do with them. Like I always am speaking. I just hit that record button on my phone, my iPhone, and I just started recording. So I actually have tons of episodes that I probably can upload about just different ramblings in my head and things that experiences and things that I go through. So we'll see. We'll see where this podcast goes and if that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you guys see like 10 episodes pop up out of nowhere, it's probably just, I uploaded all the episodes, all the different recordings that I've had kind of locked away, waiting to reveal themselves to the world. But anyways, I love you guys. This has been great. I'm just so excited. It's not even funny. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Until I speak to you guys again, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace, love, and light. I'm out.